what I'd like you to do is just, you have a drum or a shaker or a noise maker. We're just going to play some rhythm. Key to most of these drums, just cup your hand, feel like you're going to kill a fly, but keep your hand off of it. Now, while you're doing that, if you feel like doing something else, fine. Any comments, anything at all? What did you feel when you were playing the drums?
Okay. Alrighty.
Anybody else?
You guys sound great.
Reading with the beat, outstanding, outstanding. Well, yes and no. If you do it a lot, that'll come easy. If you're hitting it the wrong way, you're going to hurt your hands. If you're playing with jewelry on, you're going to hurt your hands, especially rings. You don't want to do that. We'll talk about that a little bit. Anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. And like I said, what you just experienced was what a drum circle is all about. And with that, my name is John Cunningham. I'm a member of Good Samaritan Episcopal Church in La Jolla. And I want to welcome you to the Diocese Convention in 2017 and to Drum Circles, Spiritual Drum Circles. Basically, I want to talk a little bit about the drum, what it can do for you, how we use it at Good Samaritan. Right now, we do have a women's drum circle that we have been just doing. I think we're in the fourth week now, fourth meeting, I should say, and having a really good time doing it. Every circle that we get together, we add one or two more ladies, and it's starting to get to be real fun. Drumming has a lot of benefit. As you said, you felt that you were breathing. Actually, what's happening is, as you're playing these drums, you're extending energy into the drum, and the drum is extending it back at you. And the more you do it, the more relaxed you become. Your heart rate will drop, believe it or not, because if you get comfortable in what you're doing and it not really rushing, you literally can get yourself into a state of euphoria where you feel really good about it, you're relaxed, all the stress starts going right through your arms, down through your hands, and right into the skin, which is what the whole idea is. They actually use drums today for medical healing, both spiritual, medical, you name it, for fun. That's what drum circles are. Drum circles have been around since the beginning of time. For at least 2,000 to 3,000 years, the drum all over the world has represented many things to many people and many kinds of places where they were. The Chinese had them, the Japanese had them, the Africans had them, the American Indians had them, Greece had them, probably every place except Europe. But Europe had them too, I found out after I started studying, but theirs were used for war. Most of those were used to drive drums and the people marching. They were used to move ships because it's timing is what's involved with the drum. If that rhythm is right and the people are doing it with the rhythm, all kinds of things will happen. When Alexander the Great went through the Alps with the elephants, for instance, they started beating those drums, and they had kettle drums on the sides of them. And as they were beating them, the elephants were trained to move with the rhythm of that beat. They were moving in such force, and the faster they moved, the faster they would run. So they became an automatic weapon, if you will, based on the drum itself. Drumming, as I said, in this country in particular, has been around now for probably about 100 years. It just never really caught on because it was mostly hidden and little people doing it for different reasons. However, here lately, around the world, hand drumming has become a really big thing, and to the point where the drums are starting to get really expensive because now there's a real need for them, if you will. In front of you is a sample of some of those drums. These little drums like this guy here, hold on up for you. Take that one. This is called a djembe, and it's spelled D-J-E-M-B-E. Djembes come from Ghana originally. This drum is American-made. As you notice, it has mechanical tunings on it. You do it with a little skate key. This is made by a company called Remo, and everything on it is man-made. The skin is plastic with paper on it. The sides are made out of plastic and wood fiber. Let me use yours. This one, however, and you have a couple of samples of this somewhere else, is made in Ghana. That's man-made, believe it or not, it's all plastic. This one, however, as you can see, was cut from a tree. It's a very small one, but very potent. They actually take and they hollow this out, they cut the tree off, they hollow it out by chopping it. Everything is all done by hand, including the outside. There's not a machine that's made on this drum. The skin is made out of goat skin. When they cut a tree down in Africa, and usually it's the Twalaba tree, which is from the Ghanan area, which is actually grows in the entire area of the west coast of Africa, in an area that used to be known as Benin, which was the Benin Empire. Back in those days, the Benin Empire was probably the richest, largest, and most magnificent country that there was in the world. It died just like the Aztecs did for some reason. They don't know why. Anyway, when they cut the tree, they say prayers to it. When they hollow it out, they say prayers to the drum. When they kill the goat, they actually kill it live. And they cut the head off, they take the body, they skin it, they put it on, they say prayers to that. Then they say prayers to everyone that touches it. The carvers, the people who hollow it out, the people who tie the rope. It's all very spiritual involved. And in doing that, every time they do it, and they create one of these, no matter what size or what it's for. They go through that routine, even today in the commercial drum making. But that's the only way that they do that with. It's all done by hand, very expensive, I might add. This one is also from Africa. It's from the northern part, from Senegal. A lot lighter, different tree. This one's made out of, I think it's called, it's a form of mango. I forget the name of it. It's not the same mango as we know of it, but it's really light. Compared to that little guy there, probably weighs as much as this one does. But it's made the same way, same kind of tie and everything. You saw me wrestling with the tie. This is the way that they put it on, and it's just tied in a knot. Usually the cloths are either what they call mud cloth, African mud cloth. This one happens to come from, I think, the local fabric store. My wife's a quilter, so she quilted. Other kinds of drums in front of you, the big ones, those are conga drums, C-O-N-G-A. The conga drum is a offshoot, if you will, of these drums. These probably are the father of all drums. They're Cuban. They're made in, well, those are made in the United States, but they were actually invented from these, but they're played in Cuba, Puerto Rico now. Cuba originally, though, they bought them from Africa. They incorporated that into their music, and mainly now it's Afro-Cuban jazz. And they're played mainly for salsa orchestras, big bands, and stuff like that. They rarely do these drums in drum circles. However, because of the nature of cost and the fact that they're easier to come by, we do use them in drum circles. So I bought them just so that you get a feel of there's all kinds of stuff. Also, you'll see a bunch of hand stuff around you. Shakers, clavas, anything that makes noise is considered a hand instrument. And anything that you do, including stomp your feet. You can get the bells that you can tie on. These happen to come from the Himalayas. So everybody can get into it. Everybody has a rhythm that is involved in healing. How does it heal you? It relaxes you. It helps you to breathe. It lowers the stress. How does it help you otherwise? It helps you socially. You can have a social mix of things that are going on in your life that maybe will also be stress relieving. That's what most, I think, have the ladies in my drum circle. That's why they come there, get away from their husbands. I can say but that's what they said. So the other night at our ladies' circle, lady bought her husband. She was new to the circle. Her husband bought her and decided to stay. Well, the other ladies took offense to it and said, "There's no men allowed here." And here we go. And he got the message and went to the car. So the reason for that is they can let their hair down, they can play to their heart's content, they can make mistakes, they can do anything they want. They want to laugh or giggle, that's fine. I'm not even there. I just go blind. It's fine. But they don't feel pressure. And it's not to say that there's no other kind of drum circle, because there could be men drum circles. The reason why it's not good to mix them, however, in this case, is because men have a tendency to be a little bit more manly. They want to really bang out the drum. They can be really intimidating. Most women don't like that. They'd rather play at their own rate. They'd rather not be persecuted about they didn't do that right, etc. In our drum circle, there is no era. You don't have to be trained. You don't have to know music. It's just, let's make some noise. Just like you folks came in here and started playing, that was awesome. The rhythm was going, you were feeling it. That's what they do. We stop every 10, 15 minutes, we do a roll, we breathe, we laugh, we say, okay, what did we do right? What do we want to do next? Then what we do is each person gets a chance to start their own rhythm around the circle. And we all join in. And then we laugh, and then we do it all over again. We meet for an hour, and it seems to be fun. Excuse me, fun. One of the things I wanted to talk about with the drum circles, it's expensive. All of the drums you see, with the exception of the tall ones, except 2 of them, came from Goodwill. Okay, like I said, that one, probably his too, could probably sell for $200–300 very easily if you're trying to buy one. The Remo man-made ones, that one sells for $275 brand new. I got that one for $75. I got that one for $35. There's a couple other ones that I picked up really cheap. What it was is the heads were broken, the strings were broken, they were dirty. Someone turned them in and said, well, I don't want to do anything with them, so they gave them Goodwill. There's something called Goodwill Auction. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I fell in love with it. It's better than Craigslist and eBay because they don't have the competition that's going on there. So I was able to bid on these drums, get them in, and then I repaired them and did them all for the church. Basically, these all belong to the church with the exception of that. That one is my personal drum. I have 3 of those because I play personally. So I bought that just to show you the difference. There's different quality. The black rain one, for instance, is the less expensive of the bunch. The chrome one in the middle back there is a little bit more, they have what they call comfort rings on them so that you don't hurt your hands. These are the old-fashioned conga drums that are made for professional drummers, and it's a little bit more expensive, a lot more fun to play for me anyway. All of the little hand instruments is just little tchotchkes that we picked up through Goodwill. Shakers, there's one, that one, I think you said that one was from Korea? The Shakri, which is called S-H-E-K-R-E, I believe the Shakri is African, however, that one I made. That shaker right there is bamboo from my neighbor's yard. I took and hollowed it out and I put some rock salt in it and I plugged it back up. There's just all kinds of stuff, hand instruments that you can make and have fun with it, and kids in particular like it. I didn't mention the children yet. We started a child's drum circle, and unfortunately we did it last spring. It didn't work out. The reason was there wasn't enough kids. Not enough kids in the age group that it was in, and there was only one boy in the bunch, the rest were all girls. It didn't work out too good because he was good. Very intimidating. But we figured out the problem was logistics. Good Samaritan is kind of like a freeway church. We're on a major street in a major industrial area. Therefore, most of the people in our church come from out of the area. In doing that, kids, parents have work, they got things to do, they can't get their kids there to go to these. We were doing it on Sunday evening, and that's a problem. However, I understand that we're working with the school across the street, which is La Jolla Day. They've shown an interest. Some of their kids would like to get into some involvement with our church, so I don't know what Janine is doing with it now, but they're in talks of maybe we may start up another kids because they actually did have fun doing it. It's just that it was in competition with the other youth programs, so we didn't want to knock kids with that. Any questions so far? I'll start talking and forget to say something. Anything at all? I want to show you if I can get it to work. I don't think the sound is working, but I want to show you this anyway. Sure, it doesn't work. I have no idea how to make it work. Anyway, the gist of this is basically the guy is saying that today we go through our lives busy. We just don't have time to do anything. We're on the phone, we're on the computer, we're at work, we're out to dinner, we're having wine, and everybody's just... So, what he's saying is boy, there's something else I can do. And he found out that there was this drum circle he could go to for 1 hour. That's all he needed to do, 1 day a week, once a month, whatever it was. But that was his time. And in that 1 hour, no cell phone, no business, no kids, just drums. And that works for both, particularly for the ladies if you don't have to worry about that. And I tell my ladies when they come in, when you walk through that door and sit behind that drum, forget all the other stuff. Enjoy yourself, have fun. And the hour is over with, then tits up. Usually they say that they don't. They actually say they go home, they feel a lot better. Sometimes you feel a little guilty. I said, what you do with that is as you're playing your drums, close your eyes and think about it and incorporate that in a fun thing. Oh, the kids this, the kids that, and keep the rhythm going. And sooner or later you'll start to enjoy what it is that you're trying to run away from in a different light, because you'll see it in a different light. As you can see in this, and I'm sorry I don't know how to work this thing, I'm not sure how to get it going right, but that won't work either. Anyway, as you can barely see it, drum circles are made up of anybody and everybody, and there are mixed drum circles with kids, men and women. Those are really fun, the communal kind. There are communal drum circles, as I said, besides the health one, besides the sacred ones, but we're talking mainly the sacred side. The fun side, and I think you know about the fun side more than I do, living down in the LB area. They have drum circles at Black's Beach. They have drum circles in OOB, down on the pier. There's drum circles everywhere. And the purpose of those drum circles is strictly a let's get together and jam. Fun. They have fun, they make lots of noise. They dance, they sing, and they can do it for hours. There's actually drum circles that will go on for an hour, 2 hours at a time, non-stop, just jamming. I couldn't do it here. Oh, do you know how to make the sound work? Anyway, there is an organization called NAMM, N-A-M-M, and it's the National Association of Music Merchants, I believe. They have their convention in Orange County every year. During the NAMM convention, musicians and merchants from musical instruments from all over the world bring their new products and stuff in for the musicians and music stores to participate. The first night they have a drum circle. That drum circle can have anywhere from 500 to 600 people in it. And what they do is they start in a very small circle in the middle and they just keep going until they run out of space. And the company Remo brings all the drums that they need and donates them for them to play, and they take them back. It is something to hear because it's unrehearsed and they just start making noise, and the facilitator will just keep them going low, high, fast, slow, but that's all. Everybody else is whatever you sit down with, that's what you start playing. Well, they asked the people one day at this drum circle, where are you from and what do you do? 50% of them were doctors, a quarter of them were lawyers, there were housewives, there were people who were needing a healing. They were just there because they heard that it was therapeutic. But that's what I was shocked to see all of these people that were there, especially the doctors and the lawyers, pounding on these drums. And it was like they were having a wonderful time. You know what? The mic is working. Maybe if I make the mic next to it.
At least for now.
See?
Back this way. This bowl over there.
You can see her. She's about 22 years old. She's from Australia. And she is one heavy drummer. She's a professional drummer. As you can see, she's not exerting a lot of energy. The skin itself is pretty much resilient to the point where it'll bounce off your hands.
As you just saw, getting a pedicure is a great way to release stress, but sometimes we need something a little more. And you know what? That's okay. As we found out in this next story, it's even encouraged in some circles.
The thing I love about the city is I've got things to do, people to see, places to be. Oh, I almost forgot. I've also got schedules to maintain. Family to feed, and bills to pay. Just a girl. Makes me question if this is the rhythm I'm supposed to live my life by. Drumming is fun, but the best thing is it's free stress. It's just a great stress reliever. So you just sit down with your drum, you play a little. A lot of people want something different out of their life. So sitting down with the drum with a bunch of other people, connecting right away, it's awesome. It's a magical thing. You get to play anything. You're the comics. You get to play anything you want.
First time I put my hand on the drum and felt that vibration, it was like, I got to do this.
Community style drum circle, which is everyone is invited. Good, awesome professional people, beginners, lots of beginners, and to be able to have all those people communicating at the same time, playing at the same time is pretty cool. The moment I love doing this is when someone sits down at the drum and you have to make them touch the drum. Or you just hit the drum, oh, they get that sound. And I show them just a simple rhythm, just a pulse. And 5 minutes later, I'll come back around and you see the twinkle in their eye when I'm doing this. My music teacher in school said I couldn't do this, and I'm doing it. It's an awesome moment in their life.
It's a way for me to make a joyful noise with other people without being able to play in tune or anybody caring.
I have a very stressful life from 9 to 5. I'm working in community and I'm driving around. When I come here on Sundays and drum, I'm set for the whole week. Okay, I just feel like I can tackle anything and nothing bothers me. It gets your energy going, but it relaxes you. It totally relaxes you and you just feel you can take on the world.
Now doing medical studies on drum circles. They're finding that drumming actually does have healing properties.
It reduces your blood pressure. It's something that will reduce your blood pressure. And for me, I've been medical for 3 years. Okay, my immune system's working. So it's the health benefits are unbelievable.
This music belongs to everybody. That's what I think about it.
There's the elders, there's the children, there's different nationalities. It's something we can all do, and we're all equal. It doesn't matter your economic situation, it doesn't matter your cultural beliefs, your religion. You come in and you're communicating and you're listening. You're listening to what everybody else is doing. Where's your part in that? So it really teaches listening skills and being part of something.
Anyone's invited. Kids, yeah, a little bit of energy is always a good thing.
Oh, it's cheesy, I can give you red drums. Bring your kids and you're doing it together and you create music. You take it home, you have an activity you can do at home together. You don't need to go anywhere.
Any questions?
Do you do any at Good Samaritan, any sort of prayers around it, or?
We haven't, and the reason that we haven't with our women's drum circle is that not all of the members of our drum circle are from Good Samaritan. What we did was we printed up a little flyer announcing that we were going to start the program. We wasn't sure at the point when we started what we were really heading for or what to expect. But we had a lot of walk-ins, believe it or not, from the neighborhood. I had those things spread out for miles. I stopped by my favorite coffee shop and dropped, hey, can I put this in your window? Sure, no problem. We passed them out at the grocery store, the local grocery store. So we have at least 4 people in our drum circle that are actually from just, they were in the neighborhood. They live in the neighborhood and said, you know, I want to check that out. It has a lot of benefits to it. We talked about it, what this meant for us since we were really starting it in the church. First of all, we had some new prospects for members for our church. Because now that they're there, they have met other members of our church, they talk. I'm sure someday or sometime they're going to have a need. It may be a spiritual need, it may be any kind of need at all. They need someplace to turn. They've got a resource right there at their hands. We're there to answer questions if they want. We've already had one did come to our church Sunday. And it's like, okay, that's what we were gunning for, and it's working. So what we basically said is it is a sacred drum circle, but it's not religious. And if you want to come, all are welcome. You don't have to be a member. We're not going to preach to you. If you want to meditate and preach to yourself, outstanding. And we actually do a small meditation session on our own. It's an individual choice, if you will. Other questions?
Can we play?
Sure. That's nice and happy. I forgot to tell you about another instrument that is here. This one is called a cajon. It's a box. It's got a hole in the back. And inside there are strings kind of similar to what a snare drum would have, and a few bells. And the reason for that is, you can hear it kind of shake. The center of the drum is here, and the outside part gets that, but you can play it all over. This was invented, or pretty much created in Peru. It's a Peruvian instrument. It was made out of wood because they couldn't afford to kill their animals to make skins, and there's no trees down there to cut down. So they started making box drums out of old wood. And they came up with this. This one came from Germany. And the company, it's called Schlagwerk, I guess it is. This thing is so expensive that you wouldn't believe it. I got it on sale. But now, because it's such a great instrument, now it's a big thing. You know, but those poor folks down there aren't getting the benefit of it. But it's made on the same style as a guitar. If you play guitar, you know that as you're playing, you can play the side of the guitar. That's what this was invented for. It works great with flamenco bands, those kinds of instruments. And it has advantages of, unlike these guys, which I play 3 of these, I don't have to lug those things to the gig. I just put this in a bag, put my little handmade seat on it, and I'm ready. When I play those, it takes me almost an hour and a half to get set up. All right, let's make some noise. Why don't you lead us off?
Oh, my goodness. Like you said, I'm from OB, so...
I'm sorry, I didn't even
No, I'm Hannah Peter Sickles. But I've been drumming ever since I arrived here. I met Hannah down at Ocean Beach now on Wednesday nights, especially when there's a farmer's market right on Newport. Down on the little seawall, there's a little triangle of green grass. And just like John said, just as wild assortment of people show up, and a few people start bringing drums, and then it's just grown into this. There's acrobats and junglers, and after dark
it becomes a
fire.
One of the things to add on to what he said, they have those. It's just something that happens, and it's a happening. You can go on whatever the local newspapers, whatever they see, where's their drum circle? You can Google it. Where's that drum circle in San Diego? You can actually Google that and find them. There are good ones and there's bad ones. You want to be careful with some of them because there are those, like the one that meets at Black's Beach, I think it's called.
They've banned that now.
They have? Okay, good. Black's Beach used to do theirs on the night of the full moon.
Yeah.
They can get wild. There's drugs, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Well, that's unfortunately where Drum Circle got its bad name. Venice Beach, San Francisco, up at the beach there, at Sutro's, that area. Those drum circles are wild, and they originated, if you believe it or not, back in the days of the hippies, and that's when they used to jam. I personally played in a lot of it. I'm a child of the Griffith Park area in Los Angeles back in the 60s, and the Love Child area, and I had my drums out there right with the rest. I began playing these drums when I was a kid. My whole family's in the entertainment business. My stepfather was Puerto Rican, and it was like I was raised in Tampa, Florida. So if you know anything about Tampa, Florida, if you didn't play those, you shouldn't be in Tampa, Florida, because that's all it's down there is Cubans and Puerto Ricans. And that's all they do is play these guys' drums. But you have fun doing it. So I grew up playing them, played with a band in high school. I left the band and decided I needed a real job after I got married. I got out of the Air Force and I went to work for United Airlines. And they provided me with a great career for 30 years, so I didn't touch those. I put them up in the attic and completely forgot them. When I retired, I looked up there and said, I can fix those up and start playing them again. So that when I retired, I got a new job, which is now I play with a couple of Latin bands around town just for the fun of it. And I do things like this. So, let's try this. Give me a rhythm. Thank you.
Excuse me. Oh, well, okay. Well, like you said, this is kind of the basic
And try to join in with that. Or if you can't join in with what they're doing, accent it. More importantly, accent it. Most drum circles, are the professional ones, the big ones, not everybody is playing the same rhythm. Can you imagine about 20 people playing drums like that and no one's playing the same rhythm? I mean, they're all doing a separate beat. But when you put them all together, it's just like chimes. It really rings out. But yeah, it's all about listening. Listening, and it's important because you're now listening to other people communicating, and you're really getting into that, and it helps you in everything else that you do because you start listening. Someone asked me the other night, she says, well, how do you create a rhythm? I mean, most of these rhythms are thousands of years old, so I can't really tell you that, but in saying how do you create rhythms, the next time you're in your car, especially if you're someplace where there's construction going on, listen to what's going on around you. We're at our church, we're putting in the new train that's going to go down Genesee, and it's getting to be a real mess. They've got steel plates in the street, they got air hammers going, they got these big old stake drivers going, and if you listen to it, the plates in the streets in particular, when the light changes and the cars are going across, you hear this from the tires going across the plates. And then you hear the air hammer in the back going boom, boom, and all of a sudden you got a whole symphony going on. That's how you create rhythm. And sometimes you can actually do and just duplicate that on your drums. It's not hard to do, really.
Shoot, you mentioned the different cultures that drums use. Do the rhythms change, for instance, for wedding?
Yes, and they change in a slight way. And I think it has to do with culture itself and where they are and the kinds of skins and drums that they play and the purpose. The American Indian, for instance, and it's almost in every tribe, they play what they call birdsong drums. They're huge, big drum. It's usually, like 12 people can sit around it. It's got a huge buffalo skin or an antelope skin on it. They all have one stick. It has a ball on it, and they all play the same thing. They can sit there and do that for hours. And every now and then, while they're doing it, then they'll all chime in and sing something, and then they stop and they just keep going. And that is a sacred drumming, and it's all done for healing and prayer, and they do it religiously when they do it. Now, before, in all of history, women were pretty much barred from drumming. Believe it or not, they didn't drum in any of those societies. I think Greece was the first one. And the reason why the Greek women started it was because all the men were warring. There was no one left to have fun and drum. So they started playing the drums. Kind of like Rosie the Riveter doing the war. Everybody's out fighting the war, so they started building airplanes. American Indians was the same way. Basically, if the men were out doing something, the women decided to play drums. And they did it in honor of their people. So they were upholding their braves by playing certain music. The djembe, basically the African drum, pretty much the same thing. Their rhythms were done for dance and song. But their dance and song were all sacred. They weren't just to have fun. They actually have some meaning to them. Drums also, as you know, have been used for communication. Most of them for communication, particularly the American Indian and the African drummers. Certain kinds of drums talked. They have, I don't even know the name of it, but the drum looks like an hourglass. Usually it's about that big. It's got rope on both ends of the hourglass, and they're able to squeeze it under their arm. They play it with a stick. You can change octaves on that 16 times. And they learn to literally communicate by hitting that drum. And if you're out in the jungle in particular, or someplace that's really nothing there, there's no cars, there's nothing else, you can hear it for miles. And they had people spread out all over the place, and all they do is they signal, the next person picks it up, he signals. Same thing with the Indians, and they were doing theirs. It was a way of communicating. I'm not sure exactly how they talked. I mean, it wasn't like ABC, but each beat or each rhythm had a meaning. And usually it was warning, come quick, or need help, or they were just having fun. And usually you could tell the difference in those rhythms, and that's how they communicated. Anybody else?
I had a fascinating experience when our sons got married in Alexandria, Egypt, and after they'd done the signing of the contracts, they danced, and they had what they call Nubian drummers, and boy, it got into my, I won't say my soul, but my heart, I don't know what.
Oh, yeah.
They danced for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Just nothing. It was like rock and roll has nothing on this.
I know that feeling after a couple of Grateful Dead concerts, I can relate. Now, it's just depending on the kind of music it is.
It's just drums.
It can actually, if you sit back and you let it will get to you. It'll actually get it to you. You can feel it. With these drums in particular, if you put your blood flowing, get your mind thinking, and like you said, sometimes you close your eyes. I had an interesting experience, not this last drum circle, before that. The ladies were playing, and they were all sitting around. Most of them closed their eyes because they were trying to meditate on it. And when it was all over, this one said, "Did you hear it?" And everybody looked at her like, "Hear what?" "The voices." No one heard any voices. She said, "I heard voices." She was in the zone. And in drumming, when you're in the zone, literally, she was in it. She was really enjoying it. She could feel it, and she was actually meditating. At that point, you could either hear birds, you could hear voices, you could hear other drummers. It's just something about it. And it's all in the rhythm. It's in the rhythm of what's going on is what she really heard. She didn't hear voices, but the drums were talking, basically. And that's where legend takes over on the drums and all of the other stuff. I have a conga player that plays with me sometimes. I play with a band called Santana Waves, which is it's a spring off, if you will, for Santana's band. And he is a Yoruban from Cuba. His congos, before he starts playing, he gets there a half hour earlier than anybody else, sets his drums up, and then he has a shaker, similar to that one there. The shaker is a huge one now. And he has his bells, and he walks around his drums. And he does this for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he takes his shaker and he shakes it over, and he has a cigar. He takes it, he lights a cigar, and he blows the smoke around it. This is an honor to the drums. It's an honor to Shango to say, "I want to play your drums today. Please honor me and let me play well." That's what he's doing. He does it every gig. And he really can play some good drums.
Hand me that cigar.
in to run drum circle, but at that time, she's had us find our beat on our body and play it on our body. And I thought that was really, each of us have a different.
There is different schools of thoughts on how to train and how to practice drumming. It's called body drumming. Basically, you can play your chest, you can clap, you can do your knuckles. If you listen closely, you can hear it rubbing. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And some people can do that by practicing that way. Some of the djembe drummers do it by singing the notes. I haven't been able to figure those out yet because apparently it's up to whoever's doing it to do their own words. The one, I forget his name, he's bald-headed, does a lot of training. But he uses stuff like when he's doing a cuckoo rhythm, which is, let me see here. Cuckoo, K-U-K-U, is a basic drum rhythm. What he does is, and he starts doing that, bop, beady, ding, bop, beady, and everybody in the group doing the same thing he does. And he gets another different rhythm, some other kind of sound. And that's so that he can practice doing that without even touching the drum, just for the rhythm, to get the rhythm of what it is. And each one of those has a different meaning, I assume. But this is called the pulse or the bass. This is called the tone. It's right between the bass and the slap. So when he's playing it, you listen. So there's only 3 areas on this drum you can play. But you also can play out here too. All the surface of the drum has some place you play.
Keep going.
So there's all kinds of ways to do it. And yeah, body, and it has its advantages. Number one, big advantage is you don't have to have drums. Just have a circle and everybody starts just playing the drums. Anything else? No questions?
They want to play.
You want to play some more? How much time we got?
10 minutes.
20 after. Let's jam some more. We got some time.
Anybody want to try this?
Anybody that doesn't have a drum on play one?
Easy, shake it, this way, this way.
Anybody want this? A little more subtle. I'll take this.
I'll show you a trick with that.
Okay, I'll play my body.
Let me show you something.